Old Ironsides. Aye, tear her tattered ensign down, long has it waved on high, and many an eye has danced to see that banner in the sky. Beneath it rung the battle shout and burst the cannon's roar. The meteor of the ocean air shall sweep the clouds no more. Her deck, once red with heroes' blood, where knelt the vanquished foe, when winds were hurrying o'er the flood and waves were white below, no more shall feel the victor's tread or know the conquered knee. The harpies of the shore shall pluck the eagle of the sea. Oh, better that her shattered hulk should sink beneath the wave. Her thunder shook the mighty deep, and there should be her grave. Nail to the mast her holy flag, set every threadbare sail, and give her to the god of storms, the lightning and the gale. The last leaf. I saw him once before as he passed by the door, and again the pavement stones resound as he totters o'er the ground with his cane. They say that in his prime, ere the pruning knife of time cut him down, not a better man was found by the crier on his round through the town. But now he walks the streets, and he looks at all he meets, sad and wan, and he shakes his feeble head, that it seems as if he said, "They are gone." The mossy marbles rest on the lips that he has pressed in their bloom, and the names he loved to hear have been carved for many a year on the tomb. My grandmamma has said, poor old lady, she is dead long ago, that he had a Roman nose and his cheek was like a rose in the snow. But now his nose is thin, and it rests upon his chin like a staff, and a crook is in his back, and a melancholy crack in his laugh. I know it is a sin for me to sit and grin at him here, but the old three-cornered hat and the breeches and all that are so queer. And if I should live to be the last leaf upon the tree in this spring, let them smile as I do now at the old forsaken bough where I cling. The living temple, not in the world of light alone, where God has built his blazing throne, nor yet alone in earth below, with belted seas that come and go, and endless isles of sunlit green, is all thy Maker's glory seen. Look in upon thy wondrous frame, eternal wisdom still the same. The smooth, soft air with pulse-like waves flows murmuring through its hidden caves, whose streams of brightening purple rush, fired with a new and livelier blush, while all their burden of decay the ebbing current steals away, and red with nature's flame they start from the warm fountains of the heart. No rest that throbbing slave may ask, forever quivering o'er his task, while far and wide a crimson jet leaps forth to fill the woven net, which in unnumbered crossing tides the flood of burning life divides, then, kindling each decaying part, creeps back to find the throbbing heart. But warmed with that unchanging flame, behold the outward moving frame, its living marbles jointed strong with glistening band and silvery thong, and linked to reason's guiding reins by myriad rings in trembling chains, each graven with the threaded zone which claims it as the master's own. See how yon beam of seeming white is braided out of seven-hued light, yet in those lucid globes no ray by any chance shall break astray. Hark how the rolling surge of sound arches and spirals circling round, wakes the hushed spirit through thine ear, with music it is heaven to hear. Then mark the cloven sphere that holds all thought in its mysterious folds, that feels sensation's faintest thrill, and flashes forth the sovereign will. Think on the stormy world that dwells, locked in its dim and clustering cells, the lightning gleams of power it sheds along its hollow, glassy threads. O Father, grant thy love divine to make these mystic temples thine. When wasting age and wearying strife have sapped the leaning walls of life, when darkness gathers over all, and the last tottering pillars fall, take the poor dust thy mercy warms, and mold it into heavenly forms. Brother Jonathan's lament for Sister Caroline. She has gone, she has left us in passion and pride, our stormy-browed sister so long at our side. She has torn her own star from our firmament's glow, and turned on her brother the face of a foe. O Caroline, Caroline, child of the sun, we can never forget that our hearts have been one, our foreheads both sprinkled in liberty's name from the fountain of blood with the finger of flame. You were always too ready to fire at a touch, but we said, she is hasty, she does not mean much. We have scowled when you uttered some turbulent threat, but friendship still whispered, forgive and forget. Has our love all died out? Have its altars grown cold? Has the curse come at last which the fathers foretold? Then nature must teach us the strength of the chain that her petulant children would sever in vain. They may fight till the buzzards are gorged with their spoil, till the harvest grows black as it rots in the soil, till the wolves and the catamounts troop from their caves, and the shark tracks the pirate, the lord of the waves. In vain is the strife. When its fury is past, their fortunes must flow in one channel at last, as the torrents that rush from the mountains of snow roll mingled in peace through the valleys below. Our union is river, lake, ocean, and sky. Man breaks not the metal when God cuts the die. Though darkened with sulphur, though cloven with steel, the blue arch will brighten, the waters will heal. O Caroline, Caroline, child of the sun, there are battles with fate that can never be won. The star-flowering banner must never be furled, for its blossoms of light are the hope of the world. Go then, our rash sister, afar and aloof. Run wild in the sunshine away from our roof. But when your heart aches and your feet have grown sore, remember the pathway that leads to our door. Bill and Joe. Come, dear old comrade, you and I will steal an hour from days gone by, the shining days when life was new and all was bright with morning dew, the lusty days of long ago when you were Bill and I was Joe. Your name may flaunt a titled trail, proud as a cockerel's rainbow tail, and mine as brief appendix wear as Tam O'Shanter's luckless mare. Today, old friend, remember still that I am Joe and you are Bill. You've won the great world's envied prize, and grand you look in people's eyes, with HON and LLD in big brave letters fair to see. Your fist, old fellow, off they go. How are you, Bill? How are you, Joe? You've worn the judge's ermined robe, you've taught your name to half the globe, you've sung mankind a deathless strain, you've made the dead past live again. The world may call you what it will, but you and I are Joe and Bill. The chaffing young folks stare and say, "See those old buffers, bent and gray, they talk like fellows in their teens. Mad, poor old boys," that's what it means. And shake their heads, they little know the throbbing hearts of Bill and Joe. How Bill forgets his hour of pride while Joe sits smiling at his side. How Joe, in spite of time's disguise, finds the old schoolmate in his eyes. Those calm, stern eyes that melt and fill as Joe looks fondly up at Bill. Ah, pensive scholar, what is fame? A fitful tongue of leaping flame, a giddy whirlwind's fickle gust that lifts a pinch of mortal dust. A few swift years, and who can show which dust was Bill and which was Joe? The weary idle takes his stand, holds out his bruised and aching hand, while gaping thousands come and go. How vain it seems, this empty show, till all at once his pulses thrill. 'Tis poor old Joe's "God bless you, Bill." And shall we breathe in happier spheres the names that pleased our mortal ears, in some sweet lull of harp and song, for earth-born spirits none too long, just whispering of the world below, where this was Bill and that was Joe? No matter, while our home is here, no sounding name is half so dear. When fades at length our lingering day, who cares what pompous tombstones say? Read on the hearts that love us still, "Hic jacet Joe, hic jacet Bill." Verses for after dinner. I was thinking last night as I sat in the cars, with the charmingest prospect of cinders and stars, next Thursday is, bless me, how hard it will be if that cannibal president calls upon me. There is nothing on earth that he will not devour, from a tutor in seed to a freshman in flower. No sage is too gray, and no youth is too green, and you can't be too plump, though you're never too lean. While others enlarge on the boiled and the roast, he serves a raw clergyman up with a toast, or catches some doctor quite tender and young, and basely insists on a bit of his tongue. Poor victim, prepared for his classical spit, with a stuffing of praise and a basting of wit. You may twitch at your collar and wrinkle your brow, but you're up on your legs and you're in for it now. Oh, think of your friends. They are waiting to hear these jokes that are thought so remarkably queer. And all the Jack Horners of metrical buns are prying and fingering to pick out the puns. Those thoughts which, like chickens, will always thrive best when reared by the heat of the natural nest, will perish if hatched from their embryo dream in the mist and the glow of convivial steam. Oh, pardon me then if I meekly retire with a very small flash of ethereal fire. No rubbing will kindle your lucifer match if the fizz does not follow the primitive scratch. Dear friends, who are listening so sweetly the while, with your lips double reefed in a snug little smile, I leave you two fables, both drawn from the deep. The shells you can drop, but the pearls you may keep. The fish called the flounder, perhaps you may know, has one side for use and another for show. One side for the public, a delicate brown, and one that is white, which he always keeps down. A very young flounder, the flattest of flats, and they're none of them thicker than opera hats, was speaking more freely than charity taught of a friend and relation that just had been caught. My, what an exposure! Just see what a sight! I blush for my race. He is showing his white. Such spinning and wriggling. Why, what does he wish? How painfully small to respectable fish. Then said an old sculpin, "My freedom excuse, you're playing the cobbler with holes in your shoes. Your brown side is up, but just wait till you're tried, and you'll find that all flounders are white on one side." There's a slice near the pickerel's pectoral fins, where the thorax leaves off and the venter begins, which his brother, survivor of fishhooks and lines, though fond of his family, never declines. He loves his relations, he feels they'll be missed, but that one little tidbit he cannot resist. So your bait may be swallowed, no matter how fast, for you catch your next fish with a piece of the last. And thus, O survivor whose merciless fate is to take the next hook with the president's bait, you are lost while you snatch from the end of his line the morsel he rent from this bosom of mine. The Chambered Nautilus. This is the ship of pearl, which poets feign sails the unshadowed main. The venturous bark that flings on the sweet summer wind its purpled wings, in gulfs enchanted, where the siren sings, and coral reefs lie bare, where the cold sea maids rise to sun their streaming hair. Its webs of living gauze no more unfurl. Wrecked is the ship of pearl, and every chambered cell, where its dim, dreaming life was wont to dwell, as the frail tenant shaped his growing shell, before thee lies revealed, its irised ceiling rent, its sunless crypt unsealed. Year after year beheld the silent toil that spread his lustrous coil. Still, as the spiral grew, he left the past year's dwelling for the new, stole with soft step its shining archway through, built up its idle door, stretched in his last found home, and knew the old no more. Thanks for the heavenly message brought by thee, child of the wandering sea, cast from her lap forlorn. From thy dead lips a clearer note is born than ever Triton blew from wreathed horn. While on mine ear it rings, through the deep caves of thought I hear a voice that sings, build thee more stately mansions, O my soul, as the swift seasons roll. Leave thy low vaulted past, let each new temple nobler than the last shut thee from heaven with a dome more vast, till thou at length art free, leaving thine outgrown shell by life's unresting sea. Epilogue to the Breakfast Table Series. Autocrat, Professor, Poet, at a Bookstore, Anno Domini 1972. A crazy bookcase placed before a low-priced dealer's open door. Therein arrayed in broken rows a ragged crew of rhyme and prose, the homeless vagrants, waifs and strays, whose low estate this line betrays. Set forth the lesser birds to lime, your choice among these books, one dime. Oh, dealer, for its motto's sake, this scarecrow from the shelf I take. 3 starveling volumes bound in one, its covers warping in the sun. Methinks it hath a musty smell, I like its flavor none too well, but Yorick's brain was far from dull, though Hamlet pawed and dropped his skull. Why, here comes rain. The sky grows dark. Was that the roll of thunder? Hark! The shop affords a safe retreat. A chair extends its welcome seat. The tradesman has a civil look. I've paid, impromptu, for my book. The clouds portend a sudden shower. I'll read my purchase for an hour. What have I rescued from the shelf? Boswell writing out himself. For though he changes dress and name, the man beneath is still the same, laughing or sad by fits and starts, one actor in a dozen parts, and whatsoe'er the mask may be, the voice assures us, this is he. I say not this to cry him down. I find my Shakespeare in his clown. His rogues the selfsame parent own. Nay, Satan talks in Milton's tone. Where'er the ocean inlet strays, the salt sea wave its source betrays. Where'er the queen of summer blows, she tells the zephyr, I'm the rose. And his is not the playwright's page, his table does not ape the stage. What matter if the figures seen are only shadows on a screen? He finds in them his lurking thought, and on their lips the words he sought, like one who sits before the keys and plays a tune himself to please. And was he noted in his day, read, flattered, honored? Who shall say? Poor wreck of time the wave has cast to find a peaceful shore at last. Once glorying in thy gilded name and freighted deep with hopes of fame, thy leaf is moistened with a tear, the first for many a long, long year. For be it more or less of art that veils the lowliest human heart, where passion throbs, where friendship glows, where pity's tender tribute flows, where love has lit its fragrant fire and sorrow quenched its vain desire, for me the altar is divine, its flame, its ashes, all are mine. And thou, my brother, as I look and see thee pictured in thy book, thy years on every page confessed, in shadows lengthening from the west, thy glance that wanders as it sought some freshly opening flower of thought, thy hopeful nature, light and free, I start to find myself in thee. Come, vagrant, outcast, wretch forlorn, in leather jerkin, stained and torn, whose talk has filled my idle hour and made me half forget the shower, I'll do at least as much for you. Your coat I'll patch, your guilt renew. Read you, perhaps, some other time. Not bad, my bargain. Price 1 dime. Contentment. Little I ask, my wants are few. I only wish a hut of stone, a very plain brown stone will do, that I may call my own. And close at hand is such a one in yonder street that fronts the sun. Plain food is quite enough for me. 3 courses are as good as 10, if nature can subsist on 3. Thank heaven for 3, amen. I always thought cold victual nice. My choice would be vanilla ice. I care not much for gold or land. Give me a mortgage here and there, some good bank stock, some note of hand, or trifling railroad share. I only ask that fortune send a little more than I shall spend. Honors are silly toys, I know, and titles are but empty names. I would perhaps be plenipo, but only near St. James. I'm very sure I should not care to fill our gubernator's chair. Jewels are baubles. 'Tis a sin to care for such unfruitful things. 1 good-sized diamond in a pin, some not so large in rings. A ruby and a pearl or so will do for me. I laugh at show. My dame should dress in cheap attire. Good heavy silks are never dear. I own perhaps I might desire some shawls of true cashmere, some marrowy crepes of China silk, like wrinkled skins on scalded milk. I would not have the horse I drive so fast that folks must stop and stare. An easy gait, 2:45, suits me. I do not care. Perhaps for just a single spurt, some seconds less would do no hurt. Of pictures, I should like to own Titians and Raphaels, 3 or 4. I love so much their style and tone. 1 Turner and no more. A landscape, foreground golden dirt, the sunshine painted with a squirt. Books, but few, some 50 score for daily use and bound for wear. The rest upon an upper floor, some little luxury there, of red Morocco's gilded gleam and vellum rich as country cream, busts cameos, gems, such things as these, which others often show for pride, I value for their power to please, and selfish churls deride. One Stradivarius I confess, two Meerschaums I would fain possess. Wealth's wasteful tricks I will not learn, nor ape the glittering upstart fool. Shall not carved tables serve my turn, but all must be of buhl. Give grasping pomp its double share, I ask but one recumbent chair. Thus humble let me live and die, nor long for Midas' golden touch. If heaven more generous gifts deny, I shall not miss them much. Too grateful for the blessing lent of simple tastes and mind content. God save the flag. Washed in the blood of the brave and the blooming, snatched from the altars of insolent foes, burning with star fires but never consuming, flash its broad ribbons of lily and rose. Vainly the prophets of Baal would rend it, vainly his worshippers pray for its fall. Thousands have died for it, millions defend it, emblem of justice and mercy to all. Justice that reddens the sky with her terrors, mercy that comes with her white-handed train, soothing all passions, redeeming all errors, sheathing the saber and breaking the chain. Born on the deluge of old usurpations, drifted our ark o'er the desolate seas, bearing the rainbow of hope to the nations, torn from the storm cloud and flung to the breeze. God bless the flag and its loyal defenders, while its broad folds o'er the battlefield wave, till the dim star wreath rekindle its splendors, washed from its stains in the blood of the brave. The Ballad of the Oysterman. It was a tall young oysterman lived by the riverside. His shop was just upon the bank, his boat was on the tide. The daughter of a fisherman that was so straight and slim lived over on the other bank, right opposite to him. It was the pensive oysterman that saw a lovely maid upon a moonlight evening a-sitting in the shade. He saw her wave her handkerchief as much as if to say, I'm wide awake, young oysterman, and all the folks away. Then up arose the oysterman, and to himself said he, I guess I'll leave the skiff at home for fear that folks should see. I read it in the storybook that for to kiss his dear, Leander swam the Hellespont, and I will swim this here. And he has leaped into the waves and crossed the shining stream, and he has clambered up the bank, all in the moonlight gleam. Oh, there were kisses sweet as dew, and words as soft as rain. But they have heard her father's step, and in he leaps again. Out spoke the ancient fisherman, what was that, my daughter? 'Twas nothing but a pebble, sir, I threw into the water. And what is that, pray tell me, love, that paddles off so fast? It's nothing but a porpoise, sir, that's been a-swimming past. Out spoke the ancient fisherman, now bring me my harpoon. I'll get into my fishing boat and fix the fellow soon. Down fell that pretty innocent as falls a snow-white lamb. Her hair drooped round her pallid cheeks like seaweed on a clam. Alas for those two loving ones! She waked not from her swound, and he was taken with the cramp, and in the waves was drowned. But fate has metamorphosed them in pity of their woe, and now they keep an oyster shop for mermaids down below. Grandmother's story of Bunker Hill battle. 'Tis like stirring living embers when at 80 one remembers all the achings and the quakings of the times that tried men's souls. When I talk of Whig and Tory, when I tell the rebel story, to you the words are ashes, but to me they're burning coals. I had heard the muskets rattle of the April running battle. Lord Percy's hunted soldiers, I can see their red coats still. But a deadly chill comes o'er me as the day looms up before me, when 1,000 men lay bleeding on the slopes of Bunker's Hill. 'Twas a peaceful summer's morning when the first thing gave us warning. 'Twas the booming of the cannon from the river and the shore. "Child," says Grandma, "what's the matter? What is all this noise and clatter? Have those scalping Indian devils come to murder us once more?" Poor old soul, my sides were shaking in the midst of all my quaking to hear her talk of Indians when the guns began to roar. She had seen the burning village and the slaughter and the pillage when the Mohawks killed her father with their bullets through his door. Then I said, "Now, dear old Granny, don't you fret and worry, Annie, for I'll soon come back and tell you whether this is work or play. There can't be mischief in it, so I won't be gone a minute." For a minute then I started. I was gone the livelong day. No time for bodice lacing or for looking-glass grimacing. Down my hair went as I hurried, tumbling halfway to my heels. God forbid your ever knowing, when there's blood around her flowing, how the lonely, helpless daughter of a quiet household feels. In the street I heard a thumping, and I knew it was the stumping of the corporal, our old neighbor, on that wooden leg he wore. With a knot of women round him, it was lucky I had found him, so I followed with the others, and the corporal marched before. They were making for the steeple, the old soldier and his people. The pigeons circled round us as we climbed the creaking stair. Just across the narrow river, oh, so close it made me shiver, stood a fortress on the hilltop that but yesterday was bare. Not slow our eyes to find it, well we knew who stood behind it, though the earthwork hid them from us and the stubborn walls were dumb. Here were sister, wife, and mother looking wild upon each other, and their lips were white with terror as they said, "The hour has come." The morning slowly wasted, not a morsel had we tasted, and our heads were almost splitting with the cannon's deafening thrill, when a figure tall and stately round the rampart strode sedately. It was Prescott. One since told me he commanded on the hill. Every woman's heart grew bigger when we saw his manly figure, with a banyan buckled round it, standing up so straight and tall, like a gentleman of leisure who is strolling out for pleasure. Through the storm of shells and cannon shot, he walked around the wall. At 11 the streets were swarming, for the redcoats' ranks were forming. At noon, in marching order, they were moving to the piers. How the bayonets gleamed and glistened as we looked far down and listened to the trampling and the drumbeat of the belted grenadiers. At length the men have started, with a cheer, it seemed faint-hearted, in their scarlet regimentals, with their knapsacks on their backs. And the reddening, rippling water, as after a sea-fight slaughter, round the barges gliding onward, blushed like blood along their tracks. So they crossed to the other border, and again they formed in order. And the boats came back for soldiers, came for soldiers, soldiers still. The time seemed everlasting to us women faint and fasting. At last they're moving, marching, marching proudly up the hill. We can see the bright steel glancing all along the lines advancing. Now the front rank fires a volley. They have thrown away their shot. For behind their earthwork lying, all the balls above them flying, our people need not hurry, so they wait and answer not. Then the corporal, our old cripple, he would swear sometimes and tipple. He had heard the bullets whistle in the old French war before. Calls out in words of jeering, just as if they all were hearing, and his wooden leg thumps fiercely on the dusty belfry floor. "Oh, fire away, ye villains, and earn King George's shillings, but you'll waste a ton of powder afore a rebel falls. You may bang the dirt and welcome. They're as safe as Dan'l Malcolm, 10 foot beneath the gravestone that you've splintered with your balls." In the hush of expectation, in the awe and trepidation of the dread approaching moment, we are well-nigh breathless all. Though the rotten bars are failing on the rickety belfry railing, we are crowding up against them like the waves against the wall. Just a glimpse, the air is clearer, they are nearer, 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 when a flash, a curling smoke wreath, then a crash, the steeple shakes. The deadly truce is ended, the tempest's shroud is rended, like a morning mist it gathered, like a thunder cloud it breaks. Oh, the sight our eyes discover as the blue-black smoke blows over, the redcoats stretched in windrows as a mower rakes his hay. Here a scarlet heap is lying, there a headlong crowd is flying like a billow that is broken and is shivered into spray. Then we cried, "The troops are routed, they are beat, it can't be doubted. God be thanked, the fight is over." Ah, the grim old soldiers smile. Tell us why you look so." We could hardly speak, we shook so. "Are they beaten? Are they beaten? Are they beaten?" Wait a while. Oh, the trembling and the terror, for too soon we saw our error. They are baffled, not defeated. We have driven them back in vain, and the columns that were scattered round the colors that were tattered toward the sullen, silent fortress turn their belted breasts again. All at once, as we are gazing, lo, the roofs of Charlestown blazing. They have fired the harmless village. In an hour it will be down. The Lord in heaven confound them, rain his fire and brimstone round them, the robbing, murdering redcoats that would burn a peaceful town. They are marching stern and solemn. We can see each massive column as they near the naked earth mound with the slanting walls so steep. Have our soldiers got faint-hearted and in noiseless haste departed? Are they panic-struck and helpless? Are they palsied or asleep? Now the walls they're almost under, scarce a rod the foes asunder. Not a firelock flashed against them. Up the earthwork they will swarm. But the words have scarce been spoken when the ominous calm is broken and a bellowing crash has emptied all the vengeance of the storm. So again with murderous slaughter, pelted backwards to the water, fly Pigot's running heroes and the frightened braves of Howe. And we shout, "At last they're done for. It's their barges they have run for. They are beaten, 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 and the battle's over now." And we looked, poor timid creatures, on the rough old soldier's features, our lips afraid to question, but he knew what we would ask. "Not sure," he said. "Keep quiet. Once more I guess they'll try it. Here's damnation to the cutthroats." Then he handed me his flask, saying, "Gal, you're looking shaky. Have a drop of old Jamaica. I'm afeard there'll be more trouble afore the job is done." So I took one scorching swallow. Dreadful faint I felt and hollow, standing there from early morning when the firing was begun. All through those hours of trial I had watched a calm clock dial as the hands kept creeping, creeping. They were creeping round to 4, when the old man said, "They're forming with their bayonets fixed for storming. It's the death grip that's a-coming. They will try the works once more." With brazen trumpets blaring, the flames behind them glaring, the deadly wall before them, in close array they come. Still onward, upward toiling, like a dragon's fold uncoiling, like the rattlesnake's shrill warning, the reverberating drum. Over heaps, all torn and gory, shall I tell the fearful story, how they surged above the breastwork as a sea breaks over a deck? How driven, yet scarce defeated, our worn-out men retreated with their powder horns all emptied like the swimmers from a wreck. It has all been told and painted. As for me, they say I fainted, and the wooden-legged old corporal stumped with me down the stair. When I woke from dreams affrighted, The evening lamps were lighted, on the floor a youth was lying, his bleeding breast was bare. And I heard through all the flurry, "Send for Warren! Hurry, hurry! Tell him here's a soldier bleeding, and he'll come and dress his wound." Ah, we knew not till the morrow told its tale of death and sorrow, how the starlight found him stiffened on the dark and bloody ground. Who the youth was, what his name was, where the place from which he came was, who had brought him from the battle and had left him at our door, he could not speak to tell us, but 'twas one of our brave fellows, as the homespun plainly showed us, which the dying soldier wore. For they all thought he was dying as they gathered round him crying, and they said, "Oh, how they'll miss him, and what will his mother do?" Then his eyelids just unclosing like a child's that has been dozing, he faintly murmured, "Mother," and I saw his eyes were blue. "Why, Grandma, how you're winking." Ah, my child, it sets me thinking of a story not like this one. Well, he somehow lived along. So we came to know each other, and I nursed him like a mother, till at last he stood before me, tall and rosy-cheeked and strong. And we sometimes walked together in the pleasant summer weather, pleased to tell us what his name was. Just your own, my little dear. There's his picture Copley painted. We became so well acquainted that, in short, that's why I'm Grandma, and you children all are here. The Cambridge Churchyard. Our ancient church, its lowly tower, beneath the loftier spire, is shadowed when the sunset hour clothes the tall shaft in fire. It sinks beyond the distant eye, long ere the glittering vane, high wheeling in the western sky, has faded o'er the plain. Like sentinel and nun, they keep their vigil on the green. One seems to guard and one to weep the dead that lie between. And both roll out, so full and near their music's mingling waves, they shake the grass whose pennoned spear leans on the narrow graves. The stranger parts the flaunting weeds, whose seeds the winds have strown so thick beneath the line he reads, they shade the sculptured stone. The child unveils his clustered brow and ponders for a while the graven willow's pendant bough or rudest cherub's smile. But what to them the dirge, the knell? These were the mourner's share, the sullen clang whose heavy swell throbbed through the beating air. The rattling cord, the rolling stone, the shelving sand that slid, and far beneath with hollow tone rung on the coffin's lid. The slumberer's mound grows fresh and green, then slowly disappears. The mosses creep, the gray stones lean, earth hides his date and years. But long before the once loved name is sunk or worn away, no lip the silent dust may claim that pressed the breathing clay. Go where the ancient pathway guides, see where our sires laid down their smiling babes, their cherished brides, the patriarchs of the town. Hast thou a tear for buried love, a sigh for transient power? All that a century left above, go read it in an hour. The Indian's shaft, the Briton's ball, the sabre's thirsting edge, the hot shell shattering in its fall, the bayonet's rending wedge. Here scattered death, yet seek the spot, no trace thine eye can see, no altar, and they need it not who leave their children free. Look where the turbid raindrops stand in many a chiseled square. The knightly crest, the shield, the brand of honored names were there. Alas, for every tear is dried, those blazoned tablets new, save when the icy marble side drips with the evening dew. Or gaze upon yon pillared stone, the empty urn of pride. There stand the goblet and the sun. What need of more beside? Where lives the memory of the dead? Who made their tomb a toy? Whose ashes press that nameless bed? Go ask the village boy. Lean o'er the slender western wall, ye ever-roaming girls. The breath that bids the blossom fall may lift your floating curls to sweep the simple lines that tell an exile's date and doom, and sigh, for where his daughters dwell, they wreathe the stranger's tomb. And one amid these shades was born beneath this turf who lies, once beaming as the summer's morn that closed her gentle eyes. If sinless angels love as we, who stood thy grave beside, 3 seraph welcomes waited thee, the daughter, sister, bride. I wandered to thy buried mound when earth was hid below the level of the glaring ground, choked to its gates with snow, and when with summer's flowery waves the lake of verdure rolled, as if a sultan's white-robed slaves had scattered pearls and gold. Nay, the soft pinions of the air that lift this trembling tone, its breath of love may almost bear to kiss thy funeral stone. And now thy smiles have passed away, for all the joy they gave, may sweetest dews and warmest ray lie on thine early grave. When damps beneath and storms above have bowed these fragile towers, still o'er the graves yon locust grove shall swing its orient flowers. And I would ask no mouldering bust if e'er this humble line, which breathed a sigh or others' dust, might call a tear on mine. Wonderful one-horse Shay. Have you heard of the wonderful one-horse Shay that was built in such a logical way it ran 100 years to a day, and then of a sudden it... but stay, I'll tell you what happened without delay, scaring the parson into fits, frightening people out of their wits. Have you ever heard of that, I say? 1755. Georgius Secundus was then alive, snuffy old drone from the German hive. That was the year when Lisbon town saw the earth open and gulp her down, and Braddock's army was done so brown, left without a scalp to its crown. It was on the terrible earthquake day that the Deacon finished the one-horse Shay. Now, in building of chaises, I tell you what, there is always somewhere a weakest spot, in hub, tire, felloe, in spring or thill, in panel or crossbar or floor or sill, in screw, bolt, thoroughbrace, lurking still. Find it somewhere you must and will, above or below or within or without, and that's the reason beyond a doubt that a chaise breaks down but doesn't wear out. But the Deacon swore, as deacons do, with an I do vum or an I tell you, he would build one Shay to beat the town and the county and all the country round. It should be so built that it couldn't break down. First, said the Deacon, 'tis mighty plain that the weakest place must stand the strain. And the way to fix it, as I maintain, is only just to make that place as strong as the rest. So the Deacon inquired of the village folk where he could find the strongest oak that couldn't be split, nor bent, nor broke. That was for spokes and floor and sills. He went for lancewood to make the thills. The crossbars were ash from the straightest trees, the panels of whitewood that cuts like cheese, but lasts like iron for things like these. The hubs of logs from the settler's ellum, last of its timber, they couldn't sell 'em. Never an axe had seen their chips, and the wedges flew from between their lips. Their blunt ends frizzled like celery tips. Step and prop iron, bolt and screw, spring, tire, axle, and linchpin, too. Steel of the finest, bright and blue. Thoroughbrace, bison skin, thick and wide. Boot, top, dasher from tough old hide, found in the pit when the tanner died. That was the way he put her through. There, said the deacon. Now she'll do. Do? I tell you, I rather guess she was a wonder and nothing less. Colts grew horses, beards turned gray, deacon and deaconess dropped away, children and grandchildren, where were they? But there stood the stout old one-horse Shay, as fresh as on Lisbon earthquake day. 1800, it came and found the deacon's masterpiece strong and sound. 1800 increased by 10. Handsome carriage, they called it then. 1820 came, running as usual, much the same. 30 and 40 at last arrive, and then come 50 and 55. Little of all we value here wakes on the morn of its 100th year without both feeling and looking queer. In fact, there's nothing that keeps its youth, so far as I know, but a tree and truth. This is a moral that runs at large. Take it. You're welcome. No extra charge. 1st of November, the earthquake day. There are traces of age in the one-horse Shay, a general flavor of mild decay, but nothing local, as one may say. There couldn't be, for the deacon's art had made it so like in every part that there wasn't a chance for one to start. For the wheels were just as strong as the thills, and the floor was just as strong as the sills, and the panels just as strong as the floor, and the whippletree neither less nor more, and the back crossbar as strong as the fore, and spring and axle and hub encore. And yet, as a whole, it is past a doubt. In another hour it will be worn out. 1st of November, 55. This morning the parson takes a drive. Now, small boys, get out of the way. Here comes the wonderful one-horse Shay, drawn by a rat-tailed, ewe-necked bay. "Hud up," said the parson. Off went they. The parson was working his Sunday's text, had got to fifthly, and stopped, perplexed at what the Moses was coming next. All at once the horse stood still, close by the meeting house on the hill. First a shiver, and then a thrill, then something decidedly like a spill, and the parson was sitting upon a rock at 9:30 by the meeting house clock. Just the hour of the earthquake shock. What do you think the parson found when he got up and stared around? The poor old Shays in a heap or a mound, as if it had been to the mill and ground. You see, of course, if you're not a dunce, how it went to pieces all at once, and nothing first, just as bubbles do when they burst. End of the wonderful one-horse Shay. Logic is logic. That's all I say.